even remember the old song anymore. How did it go?
Vote. It's your time to shine. It's your time to sing.
I don't remember the song.
All right, go retweet it.
How did that go?
Go retweet it. Oh, I know. With Real Sports coming back in 2 weeks, we're gonna do Who Won the Week again.
Oh, the intro is really loud.
Oh, we can't do Who Won the Week today because I might win one.
I think we all know the Rockies won the week today.
Well, hey, cool.
I'll
take that, Dub.
I merely start. I would argue Bull won the week.
So there's actual competition.
They start, but
maybe we'll do it. But before that,
Rockies haven't won the week yet.
That's true.
Dare you? Dare you, sir?
The DNVR Golf Open is this weekend, and the only way you can participate is by downloading WGT Golf today and joining the DNVR Clubhouse by going to dnvrgolf.com. WGT is not only the most popular golf game in the world, it's also the official gaming partner of DNVR. WGT allows you to play in awesome tournaments with our community like the DNVR Golf Open, and you can also play games like Closest to the Hole or Full Stroke Play on world-famous golf courses like Pebble Beach, St. Andrews, Wolf Creek, and more. So make sure you download dnvrgolf.com and make sure you go to dnvrgolf.com and download WGT Golf today. Who won last week? Was it Harrison?
Harrison chickened out last week. Didn't even play.
He chickened out? He didn't play? What?
So I think our DNVR winner was Adam, but I'm not
Oh, yeah, he's here. And when I said Harrison, he was like, what?
I forgot.
Sorry, Adam. Give you the respect you need.
I can tell you who did not win from DNVR.
Yeah, I'm in that group as well.
Yeah.
I struggled. Even my burner on my phone couldn't pull it off, you know.
You have a burner to play WGT?
Yeah, I have 2 accounts. One's the main on my iPad, and then I have a backup.
Every time
phone.
We can't find the winner in the lounge, it's Dre's burner.
I wish. I'm terrible. I'm never even top 20. You could give me 5 phones. I still wouldn't.
You know he would out himself too immediately.
I won. Yeah. Well, welcome into the Denver Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Allie Monroy, and with me today I've got Rudolph, Drew Creasman, Andre Simone, and Brendan Vogt. Of course, y'all know this podcast is presented by Breckenridge Brewery, our favorite beer here at DNVR. Does anyone have one?
I drank my last one yesterday.
I'm waiting for the bar to open to grab mine. But if you want to stock up on some Breck brews, don't forget to check out the 15-can Mile High City Copper Lager. You can find it at Davidson's as well as most grocery stores. Or you could just come down to the DNVR bar and try one of the 8 Breck brews we have on tap. I do, from what manager Mark told me, as soon as that Mountain Beach is done on tap, we're switching to Strawberry Sky. So tonight, let's drink some Mountain Beach, get some Strawberry Sky in here.
I'm a little bummed I have to choose. Those are my 2 favorites.
Yeah, I think a lot
they're
of people.
both so good.
It's a Sophie's choice for sure.
But like I said, I'm at the DNVR bar right now, and I can honestly tell you guys how excited I am that we're going to be watching baseball on every single one of these TVs. And we're going to be with Rockies fans. Like, this is going to be so much fun. Drew, you've been in the quote-unquote off-season for 10 months now. What does today mean to you? How excited are you to watch the Rocks at the DNVR bar?
Very. It has been a long and cold winter,
10
Allie.
months? Oh, my God, I can't.
And obviously on top of that, it is remarkably bizarre. Never before in my lifetime has the summer arrived and baseball not come with it. That's never happened before. Through a lot of crazy stuff. And so it's amazing that we get to do this. I'm filled with all kinds of mixed emotions about where we are and baseball coming out and being the first, sort of major institution in our country to return in this way and to try to establish some kind of sense of normalcy. But it is, baseball makes us feel normal. It is a part of, I've written about it before. I wrote about it again today. It is a part of who we are as a people. Even if you're not a baseball fan, it is something that has just been there. It has always been there, especially through the rebirth of our country. The Civil War is when it was born, and so it means everything to me. Is the longer answer to your question, because for some of us, it's what we do with our summers, and it ties us to generations of people that have come before, and all of the conversations, all of the community that's just been gone, or that we've been trying to make up for in other ways, and now we get to all collectively come together tonight and watch a baseball game.
What I was going to say is I don't even think it's baseball is summer. I think I can just, from my experience, even friends who don't like sports, everyone goes to at least one baseball game in the summer. It doesn't matter where you are. If you have the capabilities of going to a Major League Baseball game in the summer, that just is when you think of summer, it's baseball. So I feel like this moment has been long overdue, and people are just so excited because it just makes it feel like it really is summer.
It's America's comfort blanket.
I can't wait. So I have my TV next to my sliding glass door to my very small porch. I'm going to set a chair up outside for the sunset and just look into my room to see the game.
Be outside.
Just feel like you're
baseball.
outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Drew, have you covered a baseball game as DNVR before?
No.
Not one that counts. I was down there for spring training, and then
before it all blew up, huh?
right. In the before times, that's right. A couple of games, saw Ubaldo Jimenez pitch to Carlos Gonzalez, which was fun and interesting. But I think maybe 4 or 5 spring training games I took in before the world shut down. And since then, I've only seen the Rockies in person play themselves. Which was actually remarkably fascinating. And then these couple of exhibition games that have been on TV against Texas, and everything still looks weird, and we're getting used to it. Nobody in the stands, and the fake crowd noise, and the whole bit. But it counts tonight, and I'm really curious to see the kind of juice that brings with it. I think it's just. I'll just say this: I feel like a lot of people have needed this, and I'm very glad it's going to happen.
Isn't it crazy? While we were driving to the DNVR bar, Ryan turned to me and was like, right before everything shut down, we literally did a podcast at our old studio for the Denver Sports Podcast, talking about what this pandemic was going to do, how it was going to affect sports. And that feels like it was literally years ago. Can you guys remember when we were all together at the old office doing TDSP? It feels like ages ago.
A lifetime ago.
It's crazy that we finally have it back. Well, starting at 6:05 tonight, the quest for the Asterisk begins here in Denver with the Rockies. First, let's get that question answered right off the bat. Drew, what do you predict to see from the Rockies this season?
Should be easy to predict right now.
That's why I'm giving the hard-hitting questions right now.
World Series, baby. Let's go.
Quest for the Asterisk.
Why anything else? There is look, man. In a season like this, there is absolutely no reason for you to put your sights anywhere lower than that. Should you expect it? No. Should you expect them to win the division over the Dodgers? Not necessarily, but can they? Abso-freaking-lutely. It's an extraordinarily talented team. They're young. They're hungry. They got a massive chip on their shoulder. They have the most motivated superstar in the game right now. Probably one of the most motivated superstars in all of sports right now. An incredibly talented young core. Their biggest problems, whether it was in 2017 when they sank lower than they maybe should have and fell back into the wild card, in 2018 when they should have won the division over the Dodgers but had to play in game 163, or last year when they totally fell apart, are almost all tied into depth problems, which are going to be dramatically mitigated in a 60-game season. Germán Marquez is a Cy Young candidate. Nolan Arenado's an MVP candidate. Trevor Story is an MVP candidate. Ryan McMahon's all of it. I'm telling you, this Marquez kid is so much better than people realize, and he's been a slight mental adjustment away from being that dude for a minute. And I think in general, that's why I'm so high on this team compared to, I think, what you might see the national consensus. There's a lot of guys on this team who have resumes you look at and you go, not that great. But then you also realize they were putting together those resumes at age 22, 23, 24, that they still have yet to meet their potential, but they've still accomplished things. They have an extraordinary number of guys on their roster who both have a resume and a whole lot to prove. That's a rare space to be in. I do not count this team out.
So, Drew, to me, I mean, across 162 games, I've always felt like more or less it sorts itself out. The best teams are on top of the division, maybe give or take a few games. And if you haven't figured it out by 162, then those teams are about even. You shrink this thing to 60, I mean, anyone can get hot and outplay teams in their division for 60. I mean, anyone's a stretch. But if you're a good team, even if you're just in those wild card teams, a 60-game sample size is a way different thing. Like, hey, we can be the best team in this division for 40 of those games. Where does that get us, you know?
I mean, I love the concept of it too, right? Because every decision means so much more. You know what? Your starting pitcher in a game gives up a couple of hits early, is under pressure. That game means infinitely more in a 60-game season. In a 160-game season, you go, I'll leave him out there. We lose this one. Tough. Whatever.
Yeah.
Can't be doing that.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why
that's
not
not
us
going as wear it.
is huge this season. And Chris Hill points
Yep,
out
I was
the
gonna say.
over-under strikeout for Herman today is 5.5, Drew. Like, what are we?
Herman Marquez
giving away
set-
free money now?
The guy set the franchise strikeout record at 23 years old before he really knew how to grip his slider properly. These are the kinds of things that, you know, I think he's got a real shot to be among the league leaders in strikeouts and to really be in the Cy Young conversation. I wrote that actually among my bold predictions for the Rockies today. Subscribe to the DNVR.com. That the Rockies will have a pitcher finish top 4 in Cy Young voting this year. I don't know if it'll be Marquez or Gray. Those are the best bets. Freeland's the guy who did it 2 years ago, if you want to, you know, look at another name. But I think Marquez, I think this is the year of Herman Marquez.
Can we take a moment to just understand that we're talking about 3 Rockies pitchers in the Cy Young conversation right now? This might be the first time in my entire life that's been true.
I don't want to be a downer, but I feel like you can give that one 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see, but you know.
It's a best case
fan, get
scenario
outta
for
here.
sure, but
I'm just Rockies and Cy Young. I can buy in on the 60-game season, but it's a big mental leap to make, you know, regardless of talent.
But I mean, most
it's
years you're going in
fascinating.
and you have one guy, right?
it is fascinating that the guy who's least likely to do it or who is most likely to be scoffed at to be included in that conversation is the guy who literally did it in 2018. So I get his last year was bad, but I'm just saying these guys I think there's a whole lot of we're better than they think we are on that team, and with good reason for them to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Drew, we were able to watch so the Rockies in a few scrimmages this week. What were a few things that stood out to you from those scrimmages besides just them hitting rockets outside of the stadium?
Nolan Arenado, good hitter. That turned out to be the case very much so. There have been some weird and interesting ones, like even as we saw continue into the games against Texas, guys who were acquired entirely for defense and veteraniness who are out there raking Chris Owings and Drew Butera. I don't expect that to continue, but if those guys give you anything with the bat, that your depth is a lot better than you thought coming into the season. Charlie Blackmon showing up and only having like a week and a half of camp and looking exactly like he always does and like he's in midseason form. That was kind of crazy to witness. Daniel Murphy looks like a much different version of himself because he's healthy now. And I think we're going to see the Daniel Murphy that we were kind of advertised before. Some of the bull stuff looked really, really bad, but then they got rid of 2 of those guys who were the most responsible for it.
How big was that for the Rockies?
Big. It really was. It saved some money, and it opened up space for a lot of young talent to come in. Again, a bunch of unlauded guys, some of whom have great numbers, some of whom don't really have any numbers at the MLB level yet, but have had great minor league numbers. We're going to learn about them, but at the very least, we've got like 5 guys who are 27 or younger who are going to get their chance to be what the Rockies thought either Jake McGee or Brian Shaw were going to be. And having 5 guys for those 2 roles battling for it is so much better than having 2 guys that you're tied to because you paid them $27 million.
I mean, that's how modern baseball, how you should build a team. Because
Yeah.
there's such fluctuation between a reliever being really good one year and really crappy the next. So instead of paying big money for something you can't really count on, you try to attack it by committee like they are now. And I'm hopeful that can work out.
Relievers are voodoo, confirmed.
Yes. Yeah, they sure are.
Facts.
Drew, who's the second best team in this division? I mean, it's the Dodgers. We can buy into
Well, the
Rockies.
Dodgers are the best team in the,
Sure,
in
yeah.
the division. Yeah.
I'm glad you
So,
said that
I
because
mean-
we have some people being like, hello, do you know the Dodgers? Like, yes, people, we are aware that the Dodgers are the best team in this division, but come on, like the who knows what's going to happen this season?
How
The
many
best-
championships has that best team in the division won lately?
None since 88, right? Or 86, 88, 88. But right. And no team in baseball, no matter how good you are, the best team ever is the best team over every single 60-game stretch
True.
of the,
and then
of the
wins
season.
World Series. That
Right.
almost never happens.
Maybe the 98 Yankees would qualify for that, and that might be it. So, yes, the Dodgers are the more talented team. The Dodgers also have more guys sitting out the season. The Dodgers have more guys who've experienced success, who don't have as much of a reason to fight through the weirdness of this season. The Dodgers don't have as many guys who have that much to prove. The Dodgers also have a guy who's on the first year of a brand new big contract, and that can be a weird thing in baseball. It was for Nolan his first month after signing it. He came out looking weird and bad. That's a lot of money and a big, gigantic commitment for Mookie Betts. We'll see how he plays for a brand new team. Welcome. Hi, I'm here for 13 years and I'm going to get paid nearly $500 million. I hope you guys like me. There's a lot of pressure there. So, yes, the Dodgers are the better team. I do think on paper, talent-wise, the Colorado Rockies are the second best team in the division. A lot of people would tell you that both the Diamondbacks and Padres are better, but that's based a lot more on projection and like their run differential from a year ago. Which
you are like the preacher, the captain of this ship that last year was probably the outlier, right? I mean, that's how I generally understand. If you want to look at the Rockies 87-91, the 2 years prior, we can just look at how things went last year, but that might not be the best way to project how this roster is going to perform going forward. Do I have the gist of it?
yeah.
I
The
don't
second half of last year, especially.
I don't understand how the same people can say, "Oh, the Rockies had one bad year, they're done," and then watch the Padres be awful year after year after year, and it's still every year be like, "This is the time they're gonna get good now."
Yeah, I hear you.
Right. The Padres actually finished last in the division last year. They had their starting rotation for the entire month of September. The Rockies had 0% of their starting rotation for the entire month of September. They had their whole team. They had their guys, and they just didn't win baseball games. The Rockies literally played a year where almost everything that could have gone wrong did. And again, back to the small sample size stuff, they started strong. 2 months into the season last year, the Rockies were 6 games over 500, which would have them now, under especially these expanded playoff rules, comfortably into the playoffs after 60 games last year. Now, if they'd have played how they did after that, it would have been a very embarrassing performance.
Let's
but-
go Carachas!
yeah. But right. I don't think people realize, and God, I wrote it a while ago and I wish I could remember the exact number, but it's several hundred baseball games of the Rockies playing pretty consistently at like an 88.5 win pace. And actually even goes back to the way they ended 2016 when they started coming up with John Gray and Kyle Freeland and Armen Marquez all made their debuts, and Trevor Story was a rookie that year, then through 17 and 18 and the beginning of 19. And then you have basically a 60-game stretch, again, that number comes back up again, where they played the worst baseball in the history of their franchise. Nolan Arenado had the worst month in the history of his career there in July leading up to the trade deadline, which meant, of course, you can't buy any help. And then every single pitcher in the starting rotation got hurt. Just some facts to consider.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're talking about a 380 to 420 game sample size dating back to the end of 2016 all the way to about halfway through 2019.
Right.
Where
I
they
remember
were
it being around
performing at
that
level.
400 game mark where they were basically the consistently fourth, fifth best team in the National League. And then for the second half of last year, they were the worst team ever. That seems unsustainable to me considering the talent level of the squad.
Drew, I want you to talk about the shirt that we just released for members only right now. This week, it will be released to the public next week or the following week. But for people listening, go check out our Twitter or DNVRlocker.com to see how amazing this Larry Walker shirt is. Drew, what did you think about it the first time?
DNVRlocker.com.
Oh, it's a thing of beauty. Look at it. Look at it, though.
Drew, Larry Walker has a backwards hat in this, or a backwards helmet. Will you explain that to some people who might be like, what does that mean? Why is it that way? Because that's like a signature thing that Larry Walker did.
Sure. So in 1997, the two most amazing and electric players in the game of baseball were Larry Walker and a pitcher named Randy Johnson, a 6'7" left-hander who could throw the ball 101 miles an hour pretty much whenever he wanted to. He had a ridiculous slider, but he held it in an incredibly strange way, which made it have the tendency to, especially to left-handed hitters, on occasion, skip out of his hand and fly behind their heads. He actually named this pitch Mr. Skippy. Knowing that these two players had been extraordinary leading up to the 1997 All-Star Game and that this had been a thing that had been talked about, something Johnson had been doing, and that Larry Walker was the best left-handed hitter in baseball, they knew that this was going to be a possibility. And there had been rumors about how Larry Walker might respond in the event that a Mr. Skippy was indeed released behind his head. Lo and behold, the night of the All-Star Game, one skips away from Randy Johnson and goes to the backstop behind Larry Walker's head. What did he do? He stepped out. He took off his batting helmet. He put it on backwards. He walked around the umpire and got into the right-handed batter's box and got ready for the next pitch. And everyone loved him for it, as well they should have. And in fact, he took a pitch. Randy Johnson, I think, was a little bit flustered by it. I'm relatively certain it was a ball away. He took one pitch. It was not for a strike, and that was it. The ruse was over. Walker was not going to give up his entire at-bat. I can't recall how it ended, but
he hit a single, if I remember correctly.
God, that dude correct. But yeah, I don't believe we've ever seen an at-bat taken in Major League Baseball with a guy wearing his helmet backwards, other than that one pitch right there.
Drew, can you just read, you're just so good at telling stories. I just want you to, read a children's book and record it so we could, sell that. It would do so well.
The hair began to relax, but the tortoise knew the race was not over.
It's perfect. All right, well, it is opening day today officially. So I did this last year, but I don't believe the people who are on this pod talked about it. So real quick, we'll start with you, Drew. What's your favorite opening day memory?
So mine is weird because the Rockies got absolutely waxed. But it was 2008. I was there and I watched them hang the banner, the pennant from the year before. He's won the National League, and I got visual confirmation of it. I watched them put that banner up, and it's still up there. And I look out there and remember that every once in a while. I think the Rockies committed 4 errors and lost to the Diamondbacks 8-2. But all of the pregame celebration and the fact that there was just belief in this baseball team, and there was a culture now, and the clap, 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 Tulo thing had been institutionalized, and these guys were all heroes from the year before. And so when they came out and did the starting lineup, Matt Holliday, MVP, even though he didn't win, and we all know he should have. So explode, Brad Hopp, you're right here. Everyone on that team was a hero, and almost all of them were back. And bad year, as it turned out, but that day was extremely memorable.
Rudo, do you have a favorite opening day memory?
I can't remember if this was an opening day game or not, but it was very early in the season, so it probably doesn't count, but I'm going to count it anyway. The
All right, it's your
the
game,
Rockies
it's your
were
rules.
playing the Giants, and my father used to work with a guy who had tickets to the front row seats, the seats where like only handicapped people get to sit, like actually front row. And we got to go to one of those games. He gave my dad a pair of tickets to one against the Giants, and I got to sit within 15 feet of Barry Bonds playing in the outfield.
Wow.
And it was early in the season, so like the crowds were insane.
Yeah.
And for 9 innings of just straight heckling of Barry Bonds in the outfield was a blast at Coors Field.
I knew you were a good man, sir.
Dre, do you have a favorite opening day memory?
I remember heckling Bonds vividly many times at Coors Field as a youngster. It was a great way to relate to the adults around me in the section I was sitting at Coors Field. Well, a few stand out. Watching from afar, the very first opening day is always a classic. I think that's one I mentioned the last time we did this topic. Freeland's home debut was just fantastic. What was that?
Awesome.
2 years ago? That was really phenomenal. And just for the uniqueness of it, what was it? Last season's home opener in the snow with Marquez?
Was that 2 years ago, or was that last season?
That was awful.
18. Yeah, that was 2018. Yeah, definitely memorable. Not necessarily for the best reasons, but
awful. I was so cold. I was convinced by Ryan to buy tickets because he was like, "We will never get opening day tickets this cheap, first level. We have to do it. It'll be like a football game. You'll be fine. We go to football games all the time in the cold." I'm like, "All right, well, let's do it." Football games, you're like cheering and standing up and doing a lot of things. This game, 1, baseball, you're not necessarily standing up all the time and cheering. And 2, they lost like 8-1, and it was a very bad game. But we did not leave until the absolute end of the game, even though we were both freezing and dying. We were like, nope, we got tickets, we're committed, we're doing this, and it definitely is memorable. But oh my God, it was so cold.
That season started and ended in the snow at Coors, right?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. With Herman Marquez on the mound.
Oh,
miserable starts and ends, but the middle, the in between was kind of fun.
Boy, was that middle part awesome.
The middle part was fun, and it was sunny. It wasn't snowy, so that was great too.
That last week when they were just mowing down the Phillies and Nationals. Good times. Good times to play.
That was bad. That was good for the Rockies, but bad for Philadelphia and the Nationals.
So it was hilarious. It was objectively hilarious.
The shirt I'm wearing tonight for opening day is one I found at a old thrift store here in Denver. It is so much, guys. Like, literally, there's like 50 logos on here.
We need a D-line breakdown of that design.
I know, right? It is older than me. The shirt was made in 1993, and I was born in 95.
You're just young. I think that's
weird flex, but okay. Fine.
But so cool. I don't necessarily wear Rockies gear all the time as growing up in Philadelphia, besides our gear. But a shirt like this, I just couldn't not, especially on a day like today with opening day just being so weird, so unique, so awesome. Speaking of, due to COVID-19, we do have a limit on how many people can be at the bar so that we could adhere to the social distancing and all that good stuff. So for the watch party tonight, it is sold out, but do not fret. We will be having so many watch parties for all Denver teams this season. So just keep an eye on your email and social media to make sure that you RSVP so that you can come. Again, we are definitely social distancing. There's so many different ways that we are making sure that we adhere to COVID-19 rules and policies and make sure no one gets sick here. But yeah, it's going to be so much fun. We're going to have a good crowd. Keep an eye out on email and social media so you can RSVP to the next watch party we do. Are you guys excited, or is everyone coming?
I will be tonight, so I'm outie. But have fun without me.
You're outie?
It's cut day for the Yabs, so we'll see.
Oh, right. Rudo, you're watching outside-ish.
Oh, you're
with
working?
The
That's right.
I mean, we'll see. It depends on if the Yabs will allow me to work or not. We'll see.
Well, we all know it by now, but it feels so good to say that baseball is officially back. And while we might not be able to join the team in the stadiums, there is plenty of action to be had from the comfort of your home or the DNVR bar. And there's no better place to get in on that action than with DraftKings Sportsbook. To celebrate baseball coming back, DraftKings Sportsbook is offering free bets for every home run your team hits. Take advantage of this Grand Slam offer is easy. All you have to do is place a pregame bet of at least $25 on your hometown team. And for every home run they hit in the game, you'll get $5 worth of free bets.
Does it have to be my
Drew?
hometown team? Can I just
No.
pivot and take Denver anyway? 'Cause
Yeah,
they-
it says your home team, but that's why I stopped for a second because I was like, wait, it says home team, but I don't know why I said hometown team. Yes, Vote, you can choose.
Can I take the Rockies? I'm doing it. All right.
You should. This is the benefit of being a Rockies fan. Finally, it pays to be a Rockies.
Literally.
We can rake, baby. Not strikeouts. It's not a save. You know, it's not
Hitting home runs has never really been their problem.
all of these strikes from your bullpen, but home runs.
You're right,
Finally,
Dre,
it
I'll send
pays.
you an undisclosed envelope of cash, and you just bet for me, okay?
He'll be happy with that.
Good.
Drew, I know you guys did a whole bet show yesterday with Patrick talking about all of the bets that you can take as a baseball fan tonight. So definitely go check that out. But is there anything specific you're keeping your eye on tonight? Is it this home run
Just for
deal?
the game tonight? I mean, the home run one's a great one. The Rockies hit home runs. They got home run hitters. They just got dudes who do it. The odds are pretty good there. It's rare for them to go too many games without it. That number earlier, they threw up the 5.5 Ks for Marquez. The only thing I can think of there is if he's super inefficient and doesn't go very many innings, but him getting 6 strikeouts in 5 innings is kind of the regular. That's just sort of what he's in for. I think his career strikeout rate is like 12 per 9. So
Just half those games are at altitude.
You're right. Yeah. So and he's in heavy humidity today. So Marquez, and then like we've talked about this one a lot, but it just does bear repeating. The over on the Rockies, 26.5 games. Like, I know I've built up the team a lot, so I've made all that argument already. I don't have to remake it, but
Hey, I'm taking that.
4 games under 500 is what you need them to do for a team that really played at 500 baseball when they were healthy for even all of last year.
That's
like
free money, man.
Free money.
And how many games do they play against the Giants this season?
Right, and the Padres as well.
Yeah, for real.
Well, don't forget to download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code DNVR when you sign up. For a limited time, all new users get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. That's code DNVR to get your sign-up bonus up to $1,000 only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires 25x playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Moving on to some basketball.
Oh, that's me.
Basketball, Brendan. The Nuggets have been in the NBA bubble for 2-3 weeks now.
Yeah.
Did you say
closer to
bubble
3.
or
I don't know.
bubble?
Actually, I couldn't tell you exactly
Bubble.
how many days it's been, but closer to 3. So
Bubble.
Gotta
And-
rename it. It's got to be renamed immediately. It's the bubble. It's officially the NBA bubble.
honestly, now that you asked me that question, Allie, I don't think I've ever had less of a grasp on how long a week is.
I know. Honestly, that is the truth. I can't believe it's Friday already.
It could be 3 days. It could be a month. I'd buy either. You know.
More and more players are heading into the bubble, making the Denver team complete. We heard MPJ was back, and we saw pictures of him at practice today, but he wasn't practicing. And I saw a lot of people freaking out, thinking maybe he's injured, maybe he's sick, and there's reasons for all of this, and there's just so many protocols that NBA teams are having to go through. So if you could explain that a bit so people kind of get the grasp and don't just assume that maybe a guy's injured when they just haven't passed all of the tests yet.
Well, the first step of this is that the Nuggets have decided they're comfortable with leaking when guys are en route, but not when they've gotten there. which I don't understand because they're either positive or they're negative, and eventually we find out. So if you'll remember with Jokic, he was en route 3 days past, and we're like, well, it doesn't take 3 days to get to Orlando, so is he alive? And then it turns out like he had been quarantined that whole time.
The plane, what happened
Right.
to the plane? What's going on?
Yeah. So that's the first step of confusion.
There's a West Wing line. Is he coming in from Neptune?
Right, yeah, exactly. So MPJ has been there, and so he did clear the mandatory quarantine period. I think Mike Singer of the Denver Post reported that about 5-ish hours ago. So what's next is cardiac testing from team officials, which is like, this is standard. So we might presume that at some point these guys had COVID. That's why they're not there. They clear quarantine. The teams now have to double check, hey, are you healthy to play basketball? That's just standard procedure. There's no reason to assume he won't clear that. Every Nuggets player that's come through delayed so far, they've cleared it. So, so that's the next step. And then he can start practicing. So you might see a 2 to 3 day delay in terms of when he gets on the court. But that's just because he got here a little late and they got to catch up.
And so all players have to go into quarantine for 2 days as soon as they arrive to the bubble, right?
Yep. So I believe we now know every player in the top 10 of the Nuggets rotation, with the exception of Monte Morris, is either in quarantine, has cleared quarantine, is awaiting cardiac test, or is cleared and ready to go. We believe, I'm not reporting this, as I said earlier, the Nuggets have been as vague as possible. It's believed Monte Morris is there now in quarantine. So good news, whatever the worst case scenario was of, we don't know why guys aren't here, but I sure hope they get there.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be there. Everyone's going to play. It's just a matter of how many scrimmage or seeding games do the Nuggets have to sacrifice to that dynamic.
Yeah. The bubble seems to be working, with reports coming out this week that no players currently in the bubble have tested positive. How big do you guys all think that is for sports in general to have this figured out for 3 straight weeks and not anyone testing positive?
I mean, it's hard to overstate, right? It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal to see that this bubble can work. If people had sort of like on principle issues with the bubble or doing this in general, I get it, but you sort of have to stay open-minded to the fact that whatever system they put in place, they certainly are not congregating a crowd that seems to be putting anyone in more danger of spreading this around. In fact, a lot of these guys, to keep it real, are probably in better shape in this bubble than, as we know, not every professional athlete was adhering to self-isolation the way we all were. This is a really, really big deal. It's working. Even if you were against this, you have to acknowledge that it is, and sort of, I think, root for this, because sports are going to go ahead with this, whether you yourself are ready for that or want that or not. And obviously, the next best thing is that everyone is as safe as possible. Yeah. So really encouraging. Of course, every sport's different. Like, what is it? The NFL can't set up a bubble, or I don't think they can. I'm not sure how that would work. So it'd
be a little complicated, but
the rest of the sports, but for hoops, I believe we're going to see the finals through the end. And a month ago, I was like less than 50% sure.
Yeah.
It's comforting. Leagues like the MLS have had success with their bubble as well, after some really troubling signs early on with two teams having to drop out. But so far, that's been successful too. I think the NHL, everything's been going pretty smoothly. So that's really comforting for sports and kind of industries like this that are kind of at the peak and have to adjust. Finding these adjustments and doing so successful is definitely a reassuring sign.
I mean, from the NHL perspective, it's really good to hear because, I mean, let's face it, there's just less cases in Canada and they're going there. If the NBA can make it work in Florida.
Sure,
Honestly,
Right.
I love how I don't know. I guess I don't love, but I think it's hilarious how intense the NBA is being with their bubble. Clearly, there's a reason because it's working. But the fact that I'm blanking on his name, a player was like, "Oh, the bubble food is trash, so don't worry, just get Postmates delivered right outside the line."
Yeah, I think that was Kelly Oubre who tweeted that. Yeah.
He crossed the line to get his Postmates and then tweeted later, "Never mind," because he got sent home, right?
So I wish I had this 4-tweet sequence pulled up. It's as good as it gets. So Kelly Oubre tweets to the rest of the league, "Yo, you can order Postmates. You just have to leave the bubble to go get it." Which, think critically about those words.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to say it was Rashawn Holmes of the Kings goes, "Word, that sounds like a good idea." And like 12 hours later, there's a tweet, I think, from Shams that Rashawn Holmes has left the bubble and needs to re-enter quarantine. Rashawn Holmes tweets out a graphic with a written statement and an apology. 5 minutes later, Kelly Oubre tweets, "Never mind, LOL." It is about as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
The silliest
so fun.
bubble thing, though, I mean, they're doing it all right, and I mean, the safety is what's most important. I don't know if you guys saw the picture of the new bench setup they have.
Oh,
where
yeah.
Every chair is 6 feet
spaced
apart,
out.
which is really good because other than the time that they're playing basketball together and high-fiving and bumping up and boxing out, that should really enforce all the distancing.
Yeah,
Are we in a
that's
bubble or
so
not?
weird. Especially because everyone has tested negative. So what it's like us all hanging out but needing to fully separate like room by room. I'm putting my charger
Right. Only we haven't quarantined together for
Exactly.
weeks
It's like
at a
worse
time
than us.
and tested negative over and over.
Yet you're comfortable with them playing contact sports because
Yeah.
none of them have it.
I was
But-
going to say that would
6 feet
maybe
apart.
make sense if it was baseball they
Yeah,
were
exactly,
out there playing. Like maybe. it would
Don't
make some
high five,
sense.
but do pass me the basketball. You know, what
right.
are we doing?
Right.
But it's
right.
working. All jokes aside, it's working, and that's exciting.
Yes.
All right, we got it. Sorry, I am plugging it. I don't want to die on you guys.
No, that was
I got-
expertly done.
That
I
happened
got-
to me on the DNVR show earlier.
I got
my
2%
phone charged.
battery. I was like, oh crap, gotta focus. But we cannot not talk about the Nuggets' last scrimmage against the Wizards on Wednesday. First of all, that lineup, long boys all around.
Yeah, the
Nikola
longest
Jokic
boys.
was even playing point guard at one point, right? Or was it the
So
whole
let
game?
me see if I can. So it was Jokic at point, Jeremy Grant at 2, Bobo at 3, Millsap at his natural position, and Mason at 5. Now, mind you, Bobo played the 3, but took the opening tip. Jumped as if he was the center. So that is, look, guys, I'm not going to fact check this, but if you want to tell your friends that that's the tallest starting lineup in the history of basketball, go for it, because no one else has
it
the
is.
second lineup off the top of their head.
I think it is.
And
might be,
Bol
probably.
Bol,
It has to be.
Bol Bol was the star of the show.
He was, and in a way that, look, man, this is the best part about Bol Bol. He, like, if you got your Venn diagram of real needle movers and then those sort of like novelty kind of fun role players or end of the bench, he's both. I mean, he's right in the middle. I mean, Scott Hastings said this on the broadcast. His dad, you know, this is maybe a rough way to frame it, but was kind of a novelty. He was just really big, really tall,
Yeah.
tall and long. Opposing teams weren't scheming for him. You
Right.
kind of got a scheme for Bol Bol. And then also, what is the scheme for Bol Bol? Because he's 7'2" with a guard skill set, and as long as he's on the Denver Nuggets, he's probably not playing center. And he's playing alongside a 7-foot tall point guard. So you both have this summer league dynamic of, it's been 133 days, we need hoops. People love Bol Bol because he's 7'2" and his hips are higher than my head.
Yeah, I was
But-
gonna say, I can't imagine like looking up at Bol Bol.
But then there's this added dynamic of, and he was really good. And he, like, sure, it was a scrimmage, but he played 9 games at Oregon. So factor COVID in. When was the last time Bol Bol played an organized game of basketball? Competitive
Wow,
game of
that's been a
basketball?
long
Yeah,
time.
Not a
That's
long
true.
time. So for him to be that active, that eager, that capable, if you want to be a Debbie Downer, oh, he was only 2 for 8 for 3. Counterpoint, he's 7'2" and he took 8 threes. Like, at a certain point, you can't match up with that. Then he wasn't part of the fun, but I wrote on this, that was kind of Malone's high fashion runway show. Look at tall ball. This is fun. This is exotic, right? But no one's wearing that on the street. You can't
Yeah.
play that 82 games.
Yeah.
But you have
That's a
MPJ
very
now.
good comparison.
So thanks. I've been watching a lot of Project Runway.
I was gonna say that was a fantastic comparison. That's very
With
true.
MPJ,
Very
can
nice.
you work this into something more wearable, which is 7-foot tall point guard in Jokic, 6'10" shooting guard in MPJ, and then a 7'2", probably 4, maybe sometimes 3 in Bol. At a certain point, the other teams aren't tall enough, literally, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so
No.
with Bobo, you go, okay, that was that summer league gem. I can't get enough of this. And then there's that added element of, all jokes aside, is the Nuggets' future that much brighter today? Are the Nuggets knocking on the door of a new style of basketball? Golden State found small ball. They found their death
Yep.
lineup. They hit a dynasty. You guys see the parallels. You don't need me to explain.
Is that just a reaction to the league then? Has the league gotten so much smaller that this is the pendulum swinging back the other way?
It could be. It could be. I mean, the reality, right, to reiterate, they won that game. You can't start 4s and 5s. You can't. But with Bol Bol and MPJ and what seems to be an influx of unicorns, as they're all called in the NBA, tall guys with guard skill sets, if you can add size without sacrificing spacing, I mean, isn't that the name of the game? Wouldn't you just want 5, 6, 10 guys that can all shoot? And then when you're Denver and your best player is a 7-foot tall point guard, 6'11" tall point guard, all of that's just sort of like magnified, right? So that's why people were so excited. We haven't had hoops. This guy whips ass. But also, is it now Jokic, Murray, MPJ, and Bol? It's too early to say, but it's not too early to ask the question, in my opinion.
Vogt, did you guys have a chance to talk to any of the players after the game? Because just watching that highlight of Bol getting that block, then going, pulling up for 3, making it, you see Jokic's face like so confused. Like, what are you doing? Did you have a chance?
Twice. I don't know if you guys saw. So if
and Jokic is literally like, what are you doing?
I saw once.
Jokic wants the ball to bring it up the floor, and Bol half weighs him off, half carry travels. And Jokic puts his hand on his forehead and just like in the most Eastern European way. And then if you watch closely, Bol not only brings it up, he jacks a contested transition 3, and Jokic's signature right angle forearm busts out. What are you doing? We did get to talk to Bol, Allie, after the game. Bol fits right in with the Nuggets insofar as he's a little more exciting on the court than off of it. He doesn't really want to talk to us, and that's okay. Someone asked him what was the best part about being back out there, and he said, being back out there. So like that, maybe that gives you an idea of, we don't hear much, but I'll say this. He didn't surprise himself. He's been working for this moment. 43 teams 43, there were 43 selections before Bol was taken in the draft. People passed on him. However timid Bol may seem, he's not passing on himself. He believes in himself, and he expected to go out there and ball out.
And you didn't have a chance to talk to them after the scrimmage, but we did see someone like Will Barton posting on his Instagram about how Bol is the real thing and to really take note on him. And that's not just him saying that just to say that about his teammate. That like means something.
The last 2 guys Will Barton told us either through Snapchat, Insta, or literally to the media, don't sleep on this person. It was Michael Porter Jr. and it was Nikola Jokic. So, I mean, Will, he's wont to bust out a great quote, but if he doesn't feel like talking, if he doesn't feel inspired, then he doesn't. Yeah. So if he's saying this to us, I would listen.
Yeah. And Bol's never been bad at basketball. The question's never been, is Bol bad at basketball? Nope. He's always been insane. His life has been nothing but basketball. That's part of the problem. He's traveled around his entire high school career. Still was great at basketball, but that kind of stuff, when you bring that in a teenager's life, kind of messes him up to some extent. And then the injuries in college. But in college, he was a monster. His PER, I think, is like one of the top 5 best PERs in like the history of one and done players.
I mean, it was like 20 and 10. It was essentially a 20-10 average, and it was 2.8 threes per game. It was a college center, 52%. You can say, that's a 9-game sample size. I would say that's a sizable sample size. This guy's 7'2". So that's a great point, Andre. One thing to remember about Bol, this isn't his father. This isn't Taco Fall. This isn't, wow, that guy's really tall. I mean, the skill set is there. So the health issues are real. This is when you have that broken foot, when you're dealing with that as a taller dude, that can follow you your whole career. I think there were teams that interviewed him and weren't sure because he's a little young for his age. I'm not reporting. I'm just speculating. 43 times he was passed on. That's not just injuries, right? So is this guy cut out for the life? But if you listen closely to what Mason Plumlee, Michael Malone, Will Barton are telling us through these Zooms, they think the answer is yes. They think that this guy is misunderstood. And to Dre's point, it's not the talent. There's a lot of question marks, but is he good enough to make this impact? That's not the question.
Yeah. I think I've also seen a good amount of people talking about his maturity level. And I think with this Nuggets team, for a while, we talked about how their maturity level was lacking a bit, which means they can understand Bol. Now you see that teamwork. You see how much Nikola Jokic has grown, how much Jamal Murray has grown. So they can empathize with him and kind of give him a push on like, hey, this is the way you need to be.
Well, and they're at NBA summer camp. Right. We just took the tallest member of the Lost Boys and put him in summer camp, guys. Ideal situation for Bol right here.
And he's loving it. Every player, I think, is going to respond to that 2-way deal a little separately. I've talked to Bol and Vlatko Cancar about this. Flacco played professionally overseas before he came here. So
Yeah.
new to the NBA, not new to this life. And he was checking in with his coaches every day. He's as coachable and proactive as it gets. You know, I think Bobo's still learning. Like, when he's away from the team, I think he felt like he was away from the team, whereas Flacco felt connected. There's not going to be Summer League. There's not going to be a long offseason. So this is Bolt's time to feel like he's part of the group, to feel like when that coaching staff speaks, they're speaking to him.
Yeah.
There's been a big smile on his face, and I think that's real. I think he's happy to be out there.
The Nuggets' first game is Saturday, August 1st at 11 a.m. And guess what? We're going to have another watch party that day at the DNVR bar. I'm praying we'll have bottomless mimosas all set up. It's going to be an awesome time. So again, don't forget to keep an eye out on social media and email because you will need to RSVP to attend that event. But it's going to be so much fun. We've got Nuggets at 11 a.m. and then Rockies at 6:05 or 6:10 later that day. So I think a few of us are going to be at the DNVR bar all day long. It's going to be a blast. I'm really excited for all the watch parties we're going to have.
I cannot. This is what we do, which I almost forgot.
I know.
You know what I mean?
It's been so long.
I'm back in too, by the way, Vogt. I went on the DNBA show a couple weeks ago, 12 years ago, whatever it was, and we were talking and trying to figure out what it was going to take for me to finally become a hardcore Nuggets fan again. And I think just one, not having it there, right? Absence makes the heart grow fonder, but also Bobo. I think that's going to be the thing.
Bobo, the greatest highlight in the history of sports. Bobo's
I can't miss this. I can't be the guy who misses this, who actually loves basketball because I'm still holding a grudge from when I was in college. Here and now, thank you, Brendan Vogt. You've sold me on Bobo and on being a Nuggets fan again.
Don't thank me. Thank half the team for
back in.
Drew's back.
COVID and Malone having no choice. I really think that's the biggest factor, but it's good to have you, Drew.
Good on you, fellas.
All right, guys, don't forget how important it is to take care of your teeth. It's extremely important. And Green Mountain Dental Group makes that so easy. I felt like a mom. I'm like, that's extremely important, gentlemen. One, I'm going to list a few reasons why you should check out Green Mountain Dental Group. One, they're awesome humans who truly love what they do, and that shows through the way they treat their patients. Lindsay just had her wisdom teeth removed, and she said they were so helpful and made the process so much better for her. Two, they're Denver sports fans. You get to talk Denver sports when you go to the dentist. That's awesome. Three, by supporting them, you are supporting us. So if you do stop by, don't forget to tweet at us and let us know. And finally, number four, if you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam, you get a free Sonicare toothbrush. That's right. You get a free electric toothbrush just by going to Green Mountain Dental Group and getting a cleaning, x-ray, and exam. They are truly the best, so definitely go check them out. Rudo, finally. Some hockey.
Finally, it feels nowhere near what Drew has been through, but it's been far too long.
Rudo, I really need you to calm me down a bit because I'm a little nervous. I'm a little upset with everything that's been going on. So thankfully, Cale Makar was back on the ice yesterday, today as well, correct?
Yeah, Cale, they didn't practice today. So,
okay. But back out
he's on the
yesterday.
ice. He's practicing. He's fine.
That was a little nerve-wracking. And then, why was McKinnon not? Why didn't he participate in the scrimmage? What's wrong with McKinnon? Is he okay?
The assumption is he'll be fine, but we have no idea. The NHL's policy of no one is allowed to say anything about anything when it comes to people not playing is not great. But
not during this time after not seeing Cale on the ice for how long. To get that notification out on the golf course. I saw DNVR Avs tweet about it as we were doing the Oddcast rematch, and I was like, what? Why? I literally brought it up to the guys. I was like, how's everyone else feeling? McKinnon's not on the ice. And Ryan's like, he's fine. It'll all be okay. I'm like, okay, are we sure?
I would assume Ryan is correct, but we don't know for sure.
It could literally be anything.
It literally can.
The reality is it's very unlikely that it's going to be something that takes out significant time. And as Brendan would say, not reporting here, just speculating.
Thanks.
even if Nathan McKinnon were to miss, say, 14 days, he would be back before any elimination games are getting played. He might miss some of the round robin rounds for the seeding, but to be honest, the Avs don't really care about those rounds anyway. They don't. The seed doesn't matter. They have to play 4 rounds of playoffs, and they can take on anybody in the West. So whoever they play, they play.
Nice.
Rudo, y'all haven't had a chance to, like we talked about with Rockies and Nuggets, we've had a chance to see some scrimmages with other teams, kind of see how these guys are doing. With hockey, with the Avs, we haven't seen that. You guys have had a chance to see them practice a bit, but not yet anything like an official scrimmage. From those practices, what are a few things that have stood out to you?
Well, they have done some inter-squad scrimmages a little
but not with against other teams.
The reality and the thing that everyone on the team keeps talking about is they've said, look, we're 15 players deep. Everyone at this training camp is good enough to play in the NHL if we need them to. So it's absurd how many players, and I expect to see this out of the Avs quite a bit in their exhibition game coming up in 5 days, as well as through the round robin. I think they're going to give a lot of players a chance to get some ice time and try and earn a spot in the starting 18, I guess, if you want to count the defensemen, starting 12 forwards, starting 6 defensemen, because they just have that depth. There's arguably 3 or 4 guys fighting for the last forward spot, and a couple of the defensemen, particularly Connor Timmins, has been making a very hard push to try and get himself into the lineup as a starter. Will it happen? We'll have to wait and see. Bednar, the expectation is he'll probably lean on the veterans, lean on experience when it comes down to it, but if it comes to things like, McKinnon has to miss a game, or, someone's a little bit dinged up, the Avs really don't have to worry about that much.
Which is something at the beginning of this quarantine that we talked about being a positive. If you were looking for a positive in all of this negativity, it was that the guys would rest up, be healthy, because how many guys were injured before the season had to stop?
I mean, it was absurd. McKinnon had just gone down right before everything stopped, and it was just a never-ending carousel of they'd get someone back and someone else would get hurt, and then 2 more people would get hurt, and then someone would miss a week. Finally, someone comes back, and then the goaltender goes down, and it's like, make it stop, man.
Speaking of goaltenders, how are you feeling about that situation?
Grubauer has looked fantastic in training camp. The reality is goaltending is always the last thing to come. So let's just say these playoffs will probably be a bit more high scoring than what people are used to. But if you get a hot goalie at the right time, I mean, that can straight up carry you to a cup. So again, we'll have more information after the exhibition game, after the round robin games. But with what NHL teams have been allowed to do, you cannot really ask for much more than what Grubauer's done. And Francouz has been super solid as well. I think Grubauer probably has separated to be their go-to guy, which isn't a surprise.
Yeah.
But if they need Francouz, he can step in and be just fine.
So the first game the Avs play is next Sunday against the Blues at 4:30 p.m. Again, another watch party. Come hang out at the bar. I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot, so just expect it. What are a few things you're excited to see in that real game time play?
Oh, what am I not excited to see?
Just all of it.
Yeah, it's hockey's going to be back in earnest. They have the exhibition game on the 29th against Minnesota as well, but that game doesn't count. So who cares? I care a lot actually, but when things actually matter, I think the biggest thing you're going to see is the physicality come back. Obviously in inter-squad scrimmages, there have been multiple times actually during training camp where Big Z has somebody just totally lined up and he just slowly rolls up to him and gives him a hug instead of just blasting him into next week.
Right.
So definitely looking, and honestly, that is probably going to be the same for the exhibition where both teams are like, look, we have playoffs in a couple days, so let's not kill each other here. But yeah, when you get to the real games with the Blues, and the Blues, as physical as anyone, someone's going to get blown up in that game. And I cannot wait to see whoever it is on the St. Louis
that's
side.
That's the most hockey thing in the world.
Gonna say.
I can't wait till someone just gets blown up on the ice.
Yeah, but it's true. It's beautiful.
They've been hugging each other, Allie. There's no hugging in hockey.
It's going to be so much fun to have hockey, basketball, baseball, all back. The quest for the Asterisk. It's a campaign we started. We're gonna go with it. We saw some people who were upset about it, but you know what? Why not take this interesting, weird time as a positive and look at it as a positive?
Look, I'm just gonna say it. That person missed the point really
Yeah.
hard. I'll just say it for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Asterisk is usually bad. This time it's good. I'm excited. I'm excited for the chase for how many Asterisks are up for grabs right now? Is it three, right? So
Triple asterisk.
And I saw some people upset about, so we did this whole campaign, as most of you saw, with wallpapers and everything. And of course, our Broncos fans were like, hey, what
Broncos
about
fans
us?
never being served in this.
Just never. No one ever pays any attention to the Broncos.
So just so those people know, it's coming, it's all coming. But right now, we've got the 3 sports that are officially starting playing games. We do have some news on NFL training camp. It does look like the Broncos are going to start as scheduled, as planned, have a training camp, but we'll see. That stuff will come.
I am so glad my
Broncos
sport is past that point of like maybe stuff is gonna happen.
Bro.
Yeah.
You're telling me, but like we were at a point for a minute there. We're like, maybe there just shouldn't be an MLB. Like that was actually a conversation we had to have during all of this off season from hell.
At the
Like,
very least, the commissioner should stop making public statements.
Oh yeah, I
that's
think
just
we
a
we
general
all learned
consensus
that.
now. Yeah. Dre, what are the DraftKings odds? Can I get a parlay for all 3 of these teams to win their championships? What am I getting on that? What are the
Oh
odds?
yeah,
Give me that.
Money.
Hank placed this one.
Did he really?
Do you
The
hear
win-
how Andre says that?
Did he really do
Wishful
that?
disrespect.
in the 3 championship
Because I'm
parlay.
asking for fun, but Hank, come on, dude.
Yeah. You're getting it at like plus 100. I mean, the Rockies alone are 150 to 1. So the parlay's like 5 billion to
Yeah.
1. And
Put 10
look,
bucks on
guys,
that.
I mean,
I was gonna say put $10 on all your teams to
Is that
win,
what-
and then you can retire.
Is
That's
that the
right.
one that Henry put $3 on? He would have made like
What didn't Henry put $3
right,
on?
right. $3 on and he can retire happy. Look,
I love
if
his
all
strategy.
3 teams win a championship, we'll be like ecstatic. We're gonna burn the bar to the ground. Maybe if one team wins a championship,
I mean,
we're gonna go ballistic. Like
We just got-
don't get greedy.
a little a little unrealistic, but all right, when does the just a little, not too much, who
That's
knows,
what I'm saying.
but when would the MLB season end?
I think normal time. I think by end of October, right?
End of October.
Yeah.
And then the NBA would be at the beginning of October, correct?
Yeah. Well, let me check.
October
Let me double check when
7th?
the finals date is on the.
I think the last game 7 could
Would
be is
be-
October 7th, but I'm not positive.
Let me double check that, Allie. Because
I
you
mean-
put me on the spot.
Yeah,
NHL, Rudo,
It
do
could
you
all
know?
happen in
Same.
1 month.
I want to say October 4th, but same
I'm glad you don't
general
know
area.
either, Rudo. Thanks.
So
Yeah.
if it
October
happens,
is also the best month.
if it happens, we're. I mean,
Yeah, there
Can
could be
you
one
go
week in
far?
October where
My
things are
birthday
pretty
is the
nuts.
18th of October, and I'm going to have to try very hard not to die if
Can you
3
imagine
teams win championships.
all of October is just like, oh wait, no, we can't plan that parade because we've got to plan this parade. Oh, oh my God, it would be.
let's pump the brakes,
October 13th would be
guys.
the
Come on.
latest.
Do you not
It's
understand the
Friday.
essence of the quest
the
for the
Rockies are about
asterisk, Dre?
to play Quest for the Asterisk. I'm having a good time. We can
The
play
asterisk
make believe
is-
for a little.
Oh.
The number of beers I've consumed in that 2 weeks
Yeah.
period.
It'd be
Oh
a
my
pretty
God.
amazing time to work for a sports company in Denver, Colorado. If all
Only
this
we
comes
knew
to
one.
fruition, I'll just tell you that.
All right, guys, this was a fun podcast. Thank you for talking real sports. And
God,
I
that
got
felt
some
good.
people who were upset with me when I said real sports because MLS has been playing and a bunch of
Again,
teams.
one person.
I apologize.
Girl, one person.
Actually, 4 people came after me, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I just meant the sports we cover at the moment. Thank
It's
you.
that our sports have been fake up till this point. Now they're real. We understand your sports have been real. It's our sports that
Exactly.
have been fake.
It feels so nice to have. I've enjoyed all of the Denver sports podcasts we've done. We've had some awesome conversations, but man, it feels so good to talk about upcoming games, real sports going on, and I just can't wait to see everyone at the DNVR bar. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. Ask us your questions. We'll be going full all sports next week, so it's going to be a fun one. Definitely ask us your questions and have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Hope to see you guys at the bar.